Hi guys, welcome to the video. This video, we're going to go extensively into sacred secretion, loosh, negative energies, internal alchemy, all things in between, how to activate the Taoist sacred infinite body and the sacred infinite flower within that, giving yourself the ability to move energy, palpable energy, shift through dimensions, and create this fearlessness where nothing can permeate your field or in any way limit you and feed from your aura. All this on the video, and make sure you stick to the end where we'll do a exercise activating and expressing the sacred infinite flower within your upper dantian. Enjoy the video. Realization of self. Silence is the echo of the nothing that is generated by your singular expression. Realized in the ether, on either side of all dimensions, lies perfection manifest. When all rivers return, this is the true nature of everything. Perfection manifest. That is your gift. That is your offering. Welcome to the consciousness of the way. My divine delectable co-host, High Priestess Jade.
Hi there.
Hello there, friend.
Friend. Good old friend.
And I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Qing. And here we are. Another beautiful day in paradise. Mm-hmm. Realizing the gift that keeps on giving. That makes me think of Beverly Hills Cop, but we won't go there. And the idea that your gift is your offering is your gift, the understanding of the mechanics of all things, the true nature of everything. All is one, one is all, the universe. Let's talk about all things spooky, all things ominous, all things nefarious, all things evil, all things dark, all things dark nights of the soul, all things visionary, illusionary, exorcism-ary. Let's speak on that. The realization of duality and what that really means from a negatory perspective. Negative realization.
But isn't that just your perception?
1,000% your perception. Yet there is this moment that we're having now, and this is something that I'm coming across more and more, having in my natural born life, being in the metaphysical space for over 30 years. All the readings that I've ever done on anybody, it has never been more prevalent, more like right now, than this understanding that, there are aliens. And so it's really interesting. A dear brother of mine spent time with Dave from Medicine Family, and we do lives with him quite often. We're going to do another one this Friday. Everyone, come one, come all. Probably get a channel from Latsu, get some, direct source, high frequency stuff. Mm-hmm. In any case, this understanding of there are other things out there, and then realizing it, because it's never been something that I've consciously come across through my metaphysical journeys through all dimensions for decades in my natural born life. there's always been high frequency light, information, energy, and the forms of that have transmuted into physical, human-like expressions that are very tangible. As I look at Jade, all my teachers from our temple, over 171 of them, all express in the same image a very tangible human-like form, and they're as vivid as is Jade right now. So understanding how that expresses in your field, your perception, all of these that are above the dimension that we speak of, fourth, fifth, and above, we have this interesting, I wouldn't say it's a dilemma, but I've never experienced that. This is a first for me. Mm-hmm. And so in the last week or two, I've literally been in contact with, half a dozen aliens that are one straight out of science fiction. It's cool. It's never really been my path. When I was exercising a lot of demons, a lot of vibrational energy that would come in that form. And there was a period of time there in my journey as I teach people how to exercise these energies. There was a fire sale and these sort of demon-like forms, Satan demon-like in structure, in nature, in expression. And now I feel like I'm a Ghostbuster, and these aliens are transforming and transmuting constantly, and we've had quite a few interactions with them just recently. So let's talk about this, ominous sort of state where people are in fear of. A lot of people are talking about this spiritual war that we speak of, and the 2024 has all the makings of that, from numerology, astrology, all these types of things are leading us towards this pinnacle and an expression in the universe of fear at its highest, fear expressed as that. So let's talk about what that really means on an alchemical basis, because we here at the Way 126 are Taoists in our nature. Our default is we are the masters of internal alchemy. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. So from a mystic's perspective, from an esoteric's perspective, we are the biggest badasses, the biggest big dog in the dog park when it comes to internal alchemy. Mm-hmm. So you have this notion that they call it Loosh, which is a term that was coined by a guy by the name of, what is his name? Monroe. And so he spoke on this Loosh that he became familiar with in other dimensions. And this is sort of we don't split hairs here at Taoist Central when we look at Shen projection, spirit projection, soul projection, and then other energies that are lower in frequency. Everything is measured by energy, frequency, vibration. Those lower frequency energies are transmuted in the form of demons, in more darker related sort of forms, and they're completely reliant on the individual's perception of their reality, and that's how those energies end up in their field or feeding from their energy because of the construct of the nature of their reality, as their truth is the only truth they need to be concerned with, and they're able to conjure up and manifest and create this energy in their space. People talk about it. We speak on it. Duality is the polarizing effects of yin and yang. And ultimately, then there's the culmination of the two, which is what we talk about, the speaking of the peak of yin and yang on each side of the mountain. You come to a point, that is the ultimate realization of a Taoist, is to be all with everything. You are the universe is you. So while you're sort of like pontificating, percolating, pondering the idea that maybe you want to step past this duality aspect, you may be down the shallow end of the pool dog pedaling in this mush that we call fear, negativity, limitation, contraction. These are all parts of the human condition. Now, the construct of the Loosh, per se, that Monroe speaks of, reaching out in other dimensions, and I personally have never experienced those types of entities as I reach past the dimensions that we are in right now, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 20th, 30th, 50th. I've explored over 30 personally, and I truly believe that they're infinite. And I've never come to a conclusion that would lead me to believe that's not true. So I use that as a baseline whenever I'm teaching people out-of-body experience, that the only seed that's necessary for you to have this realized is your imagination and your belief system. It starts and ends there. And of course, then the techniques that we train you in, the internal alchemy techniques, is where it becomes palpable and you can consciously shift into these different dimensions at will, being able to obtain information, experiential moments. And so Monroe spoke of this Loosh aspect. And so the alchemical realization of what we consider the esoteric, ethereal matter that is generated by this celestial realm is, comes in the form of many different things. Some may call it the sacred secretion, and you naughty people that instantly go to something that is not of a higher vibration. And so that's not what I'm speaking of. I'm speaking of the actual alchemical response that takes place between the pituitary, the thalamus, and the pineal gland that generates this secret source, i.e., you could call it Christ, a consciousness, the crystal oil, the kundalini. This is an alchemical response that takes place as you activate certain neurological responses through hormonal responses, through thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And so they all start to echo themselves. Now, within Taoism, we call this the Microcosmic Orbit. And moreover, a much deeper level, one of our OGs referenced the infinite internal Wuji body, which is a cultivating practice that we have people do to realize the sacred infinite flower, which would be, in turn, the epicenter of what people call this sacred secretion, the Christ oil, the Holy Trinity, which is the culmination of upper, middle, and lower Dantian. I mean, we could go on all different levels of how people perceive this stuff from different practices, esoteric, ancient mystical practices. The bottom line is
basically just a natural high.
A natural high that there is a processes, right? So, people talk about, let's take the alchemical stuff, put it aside for a minute. Now let's look at this Loosh aspect, this evil. And the reason I'm getting to the alchemical stuff is because this is a part of the rippling effects of the architecture that you create. So when you build the foundation of your house, you can recognize and realize the knowing that comes with being fearless, right? Being all-knowing. Because that is the jump-off point to never being exposed to these very low vibrations that feed very much from your fear. Okay? So,
And I think there is a little bit of a difference between like being fearless and still being cautious. Like you can still, just because you're fearless doesn't mean you're like irresponsible with your life or anything else. It's not like, oh, I'm fearless, so let me just throw myself off a building without a parachute. Not that type of fearless. Fearless in the sense of knowing that you there is your guides, guardian angels, whatever source, universe that is always looking out for your best interest, but without having to, constantly like prove it. You know what I
right.
mean? You just know it.
Right. But that knowing comes from a foundational part. It's like the Nigong that we teach people in the internal alchemy that we speak of creates that foundation that never leaves you, not in this lifetime nor the next, and you're becoming reunited with it. And so let's get back to the Loosh aspect. Low vibrational energy is the realization that when you transmit this energy of any kind, everything is energy, frequency, vibration. It's either low or high from the duality aspect, or it's merged as one, which is just an expression of that which would come more in the form of, understanding the physics model where everything is interconnected. So it's pulsating at all times. So this Loosh, in of itself, the nature of his realization is we as humans, we feed from plants, we feed from animals to create our sustenance, our energy. And moreover, the more evolved you are, you start to feed from the energy, the universe around you that basically nourishes this physical form. And the understanding that Monroe is recognizing another energy that is feeding from the human form. Now, that sounds pretty creepy, man. But it makes a lot of sense in relation to how within Taoism we call, certain types of personalities that would perceive to be controlled by their behavior, what we call psychic vampires. Okay, what would a psychic Sifu? What is a psychic vampire? Well, a psychic vampire is the average person around the corner that you come across, and your default notion of instinctual humanness is to just go around reaching out, nourishing people with this curiosity of asking someone how they are. It's a natural instinct. How are you today? Now, you ask the question of how are you today to a psychic vampire, and the answer will come in the form of this. Well, it's strange you asked me that question. I am really having one of those days, and that day is now turned into a week, and that week is turned into a month, and oh my goodness, I'm just exhausted. I get up tired, I go to sleep tired. Everything that happens in my life is draining and draining and draining, and I never seem to get cut a break. Anything that happens to me is always something worse, is just around the corner. And you, in your mind, after you ask that question, say to yourself, WTFFML. And this comes in the form of, you can literally feel as though someone has stuck a straw in you and the energy is being drained from your auric field. And you're like, how in Tao's name is this possible? I am generally feeling like I'm downgraded my energy, as if I'm a battery and my battery level is literally going zhoop, 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 zhoop. Now, all this is predicated on this simple understanding. And the understanding is this. If you believe in the framework of duality, and you believe in karma, and you believe in these fundamental natures of reality, the construct of it, you will be susceptible to a psychic vampire. What?
Which Monroe would consider this Loosh.
Yes, it's like a micro version of Loosh, right? So a macro version of what he called Loosh is literally an entity that is larger than planet Earth or the human race, and it is literally sticking a straw in the earth itself and draining the energies from the human form, and it's like literally fishing. So it throws its lure out and it drops it into the ocean that it calls Earth, and the lure is fear. And that fear then sucks from anyone that projects and transmits fear from their field. That's pretty freaky, man.
Now, his concept of Loosh, like you said, is it more, does he conceptualize it more as this big macro version, or does he also look at it in the micro of like, my toddler was having a tantrum and I just got so exhausted and I gave them all my energy, that transfer
well, that in
on
of itself,
a small level.
It's like the fishing pole and the rod and the lure is being thrown into Earth, which is the ocean of endless possibilities for this Loosh energy. And it's literally has created a heat-seeking missile that draws from anyone that expresses fear.
I see.
So it doesn't matter whether it's on a micro version of you
Or
being exhausted by your toddler, or a group of people being afraid because there's going to be a tsunami, or thousands of millions of people involved in world war, famine, viral effects. It feeds off it.
Feeds off of everything.
Holy moly. Mm-hmm. Now, within the Taoist world, we perceive these lower vibrational energies, and they diffuse themselves quite quickly using specific techniques that we've had around for 10s, 20s, probably, I'm just going to throw it out there, probably 100,000 years. Who knows? Probably more, but I'm just going to sort of cap there because most people can't wrap their mind around Taoism being even existing less than 2,000, 3,000 years ago, which is the biggest lie and fallacy that you could ever hear of. So there we have it. We have this understanding, and he created this definition through his own exploration of the dimensions that gave him this realization of this ominous energy. Now, the other side, like anything, because Loosh feeds on duality, that Loosh energy could also materialize itself in nourishing and elevating and expanding your aura, expanding your consciousness, not contracting, not drawing from, not limiting. So there is, because it's a duality mechanism, there is opportunity for, either one. And you have to then identify as part of consciousness, as consciousness, realizing if I engage, as we always speak of here on this channel, your emotions don't control you, you control your emotions. If you engage in the emotional content and you're going to be about it, know about it, all about it, then guess what's going to be realized? It's going to come in that form.
Right.
And so you want to expand with this expression that increases your energy, then guess what you're going to do?
Increase it.
Yes. But if you're going to decrease the energy, then if you're going to feed into the negative emotions, part of this duality, Loosh concept, then it will be drawn from you.
Right.
You'll be exhausted. You can be whole or half. You decide.
Mm-hmm. I think it is a very important thing too that with duality, it's always comparison. So, when we look at energy and frequency, and we would look at, a higher frequency being, at a level 10, a lower frequency being at a level 2. When you would look at those two and you would compare them, you would say, okay, well, obviously I'd like to be at a level 10. Now, as Taoists, when you get to that point where you're one with everything, you're not judging the frequency off of this is a higher level, this is a lower level. It's just frequency. So it's not like I'm a level 10 frequency. No, I'm a level 2 frequency. It's I'm just frequency.
Right.
And this is where I think people can step outside of that duality and outside of that comparison of, oh, well, this is good or this is bad, and just be and kind of realize how powerful that perspective is as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And so this is sort of where we get back to, internal alchemy and the cultivation. By creating that framework, it becomes very tangible. You're able to move through dimensions with this palpability that gives you a knowing as to where you are and what you're capable of expressing, of transmitting, of realizing, that makes you whole, so that you become fearless, not fearful.
It just makes me think of like an assassin. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of how we do it too. They are constantly training every day. I train in this form. I train in this form. I know how to kill someone this way. I know how to kill someone with a spoon, whatever it is. They're training all day long. Now, they might go throughout their whole life and never, ever have to use that technique, mm-hmm. that skill. I can kill someone. I'm an assassin. Mm-hmm. But they have that knowing because they've done this training, and they have this viewed reality that if I ever have to, I know how to do it, and I know that this is going to happen. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that, okay, they're going to go out and just kill a bunch of people. But they have that knowing that they have the skills to protect themselves, to save themselves, however you want to look at it.
Yeah. That's part of the power of what we do mm-hmm. as alchemists, as mystics, as, being the master keeper creator of our reality. And so then you can start expressing yourself through these dimensions, and it's all the framework of your truth is the only truth you need to be concerned with.
100.
And so the Loosh concept has many parallels to many other ancient philosophies or belief systems. And so when you do the alchemy and you're accessing what, across all Christ oil, sacred secretion, within Taoism, it's like, expressing and realizing the sacred infinite flower. All these things are giving you a finer development understanding of how to cultivate this stuff. And so when you express yourself in these dimensions, that fearlessness does not transmute into fearfulness. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, your framework will lead you in that place where you are either in a very contracted state of protection or an expansive state of enveloping all things, right? So you don't, you are me, I am you. Why would you need to protect yourself? And so the alchemical process is that activation, pineal, pituitary, thalamus, which is what we call within Taoism the three treasures. And, in other practices, Christianity and mystical practices of that nature, there is an element referring to the milk and honey and all this other sort of like notions of what sort of chemicals are being produced from the pituitary, pineal, and thalamus The three treasures within Taoism opens the Jade Emperor's Palace. That's another deal altogether. Now, that realization, and we use it to cultivate this refined energy that then lubricates the neurology of your physical body using what we call the Taiji pole, which you would define on a physicality level, your spine, and run that energy up the spine using the neurology that's wrapped within the spine itself, leading it using the vagus nerve, leading it straight into the Ryu, or what we call the pineal gland, commonly from a scientific perspective, neurology perspective, biology perspective. Now, when that's activated, you get, from a Taoist perspective, this, blossoming of the sacred infinite flower, which is, and now you have this palpable, dense activation of what we call the Tian, Dan and Tian. There's two separators that then come together as one, more so like yin and yang, and that convergence is that realization, and now the sacred infinite flower is activated, and now you're operating all 81 chambers of the upper dantian as a Taoist. Within other alchemical practices, you are accessing heightened, deep, conscious understandings of things using your pineal as a receptor. And in a biological aspect, that's what we're doing also, using the sacred infinite flower. But it connects to the eyes within your upper dantian, within your skull. And so once you have access to what we call the internal infinite Wuji body, there is, a practice that you cultivate, which, it's polarizing in comparison to other conventional practices someone might call, the Christo activation, the Kundalini, other things of that nature. These are infantile in their nature to the internal Wuji body. Now, Sifu, it sounds to me like you're being very biased. When you try it, trust me, once you activate it, there's no going back, and you don't want to. You just get more excited. Now, some people will instantly access it, and it's also a measurement of this energy, frequency, vibration. When you do it, there's this respiratory component that is critical to it being realized, right? So that respiratory component is critical to it being realized. And when you get it down, because a lot of people initially that I've shared it with are like, I can't get the breathing. Okay. So you move with it until you adapt, because consciousness, when it comes to ancient practices like the ones we teach, primordial breathing, embryotic breathing, is intuitive. And when we reference embryotic breathing, we mean breathing without breathing. As a newborn, as a child that is being developed in the womb, growing and being nurtured within the womb, we have the instinct of understanding how to breathe without breathing. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you have to learn it, you do not know it. If you know it, you do not have to learn it. Take that to the bank and digest that one.
It's already within you.
It's
inside
within
of
you.
you.
Exactly. So that respiratory breathing. So you use these oils that are activated from the three treasures. You move it down and up like a cycle. It's like a cycle. And within the sacred infinite Wuji body, it replicates the neurology, nerve endings running up and down the spine. And what do you know? If you look at the diagrams, anyone that's used it, it will be available for you to purchase. If you look at it, what does it represent? Oh, an infinity sign. Oh, what are the chances? Now, this is where it gets real interesting, because once you evoke this activation, and it will start running independent of your conscious mind. So now you've turned this energy on, and it's just like this loop. And it just keeps moving through the body. And as I'm saying it, you're feeling it running up and down your spine. You're like, whoa, Sifu. And what happens is, as it runs up the spine, through the head, and back down the front, you have this continual loop that can go in either direction, yang or yin. And when it hits that upper dantian area is where all bets are off. Okay? So now you're getting very powerful insight. And so that activation comes in all forms. But let's just say, a whole new sense or view of reality is realized. And so then there's this little technique. And when you activate it, so your upper dantian, your brain will start to pulsate. You will physically have the characteristics of your brain converging as one solid mass. Sounds kind of freaky, Sifu. Yeah. And so when people conceptualize or they speak in theory and they talk about the brain is in two parts, in two halves, thinking, feeling, we understand this conceptually. We talk about it here on this channel. If you are thinking, you're not knowing. If you're knowing, you are feeling. This is also the convergence of conscious and unconscious in of itself, creating a 100% conscious being that has access to all realms at once. And this is a multidimensional processes. And so the more and more, just like that ringing you get in your ears right now, is another frequency that has shifted. That's why you hear it. It's not the good old-fashioned, look up WebMD, I've got tinnitus, where you're hearing this. No, this is a frequency shift. When you hear that piercing ring, that's a frequency shift, ladies and gentlemen and ladies, which fundamentally, if you rewind this thing, happened at a certain point when I hit the upper dantian. Now, once you activate the sacred infinite flower, you're able to then create it in your upper dantian with your eyes. Well, see, what does that even mean? Well, we'll do a little sample of it at the end of this podcast. And there is a specific technique that takes place. You've now activated the three treasures, the alchemical response. The Ruyi, the Ryu is oscillating. It's on like Donkey Kong. And you have this independent action of alchemical response that's going on inside your body that you turned on, and now it's like the flux capacitor from, Back to the Future. 88 miles an hour, Marty. Yeah. And it never turns off. It's just oscillating at all times. And this is the power of what we talk about, that internal alchemy. That internal alchemy is the foundation of your fearless, walk that you speak of, that then can take you out to other dimensions fearlessly, right? Being able to operate in those dimensions without caution, without limitation, without contraction, understanding that there is nothing that can harm you. When you believe you are not of this body, what can harm you? Nothing. So this activation, the alchemical stuff, the stuff we do, the esoteric stuff, the mystical stuff that's within Taoist practices is why we're second to none when it comes to that. Yeah, baby. And so sacred infinite flower is activated through the infinite Wuji body, and this is an incredible combination of Nigong and Qigong, respiration, moving energy with your mind. That convergence creates this very experience that we speak of. Oh, yeah.
Now, does someone access all these amazing fluids? Is it something that they should be doing on a daily basis? Should they be doing it if they're feeling a little low or they want just a bump? or is it more of like
Well,
you practice this, you train this every day?
It's an ethereal access point. So once you turn on this juice, you have shifted your DNA at a subatomic level to a whole nother realization, as if you are the materialized manifestation of the Tao in physical form, because it's now infused in your DNA. It's infused into your cells. So it's like a switch on. You know, you've gone from Clark Kent to Superman permanently.
Right.
And so now you just add to it. Now it's turned on. Now the magic is right there. So then when you speak on things and you're operating with these lower frequency energies, i.e. within Taoism, we call them demons. We call them just energies that feed off the emotion of fear. This is not just a Taoist thing, as I'm referencing from Monroe's description of this Loosh that he has coined. It's very much almost the same. And so everything and all things are controlled by your consciousness, where you are, what it is that you're generating from this very experience. I understand that, know that to be true. When you realize that, profound things take place. Oh, yeah.
And I think that's important to understand too, because a lot of people come to us and they're like, I want to heal. I want to change. I want something. I'm not satisfied with what's happening in my life right now. Excuse me. And then we go, okay, so let's talk about those things. And they go, well, I'm not satisfied with X, Y, and Z. And you're like, okay, well, do you notice what's happening with X, Y, and Z? And they're like, well, I'm not doing that. And it's like, well, okay, we have to come to a point. We have to come to a point of you acknowledging that this is actually happening, or this is in your perception. You know, if I can see it, but you can't see it, but it's taking place, it's kind of hard for you to want to shift that if you're not even aware of what's going on, or your program was someone else's idea instead of what you're actually experiencing.
100. That's the truth. That's the reality. Yeah, so these are the fundamental understandings of, what some people will coin as the secret secretion, the sacred secretion, and then ominous low vibrational energies, this Loosh, really an entity. It's a fundamental energy that draws from the energy of the earth, and moreover from humans. And now this goes back to, some of the stuff we just discovered recently with our interactions with Thoth. Holy moly. I mean, this stuff gets deep, my friends, and it goes deep into how the Emerald Tablets are a mechanism to hypnotize people and access their body, mind, and spirit. Whoa, I didn't want to go there. Now, with this understanding, through our chemical process, through the training, you can develop a tangible, palpable foundation that makes you fearless to transmit a tangible energy. And when you're operating in these dimensions, you do not have fear plague you as a catalyst, because that's the very essence of what this Loosh, demons, all the things that we speak of that are parallel to Taoism, that's what it feeds from. And the second you shift to fearless from your practices, from your cultivation, from your expansion, all bets are off, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. So,
and this is why we emphasize also the Way 126, how important it is, what an amazing daily practice it is, because it validates on a daily basis every time you use it that emotional control, that emotional transfer where you're taking charge and not being controlled by. And applied in real world situations too. I mean, it sounds great. Everyone's happy when they're on vacation. It's when they get back to the real world, whether they can shift out of that state, or they're faced with a problematic situation. How quickly can you shift out of that and become emotionless, less reactive, and stay in that very calm, logical, rational state?
Yeah, I agree. I concur. And that's the power of intention, attention. So, all this ancient alchemy stuff gets you all fired up. And, accesses the sacred infinite flower within Taoism. And the three treasures basically materialize the secret source that we use to be able to access that. So, wow, that was pretty profound, the information we went through today.
Yeah, kind of a very spiritual deep dive.
Very, very deep dive.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, feelings, and emotions you feel like closing with, my dear friend?
No, I'm excited for the exercise.
Yes. So
to end on a high note.
And a high note. So let's go over this exercise. But basically, I've already planted the seed through your just exposure to the frequency I transmitted. You're starting to feel that in your upper dantian, i.e. more your third eye area right here. Now, as I just transmitted a little bit more, it's a little heavier. You start to feel that thickness. It's on the verge of perhaps what you would consider perhaps even a headache, because there's so much density. Now, I want to thank my divine delectable co-host, and we're going to move forward with this exercise and transformation. So this is going to be interesting. Either close a sense, open a sense, get into a state of relaxation. Now, when focusing on this focal point where the sacred infinite flower is generated, with your eyes, and I'm actually going to request all audience to close their eyes, because this is a very deep mechanism. So as you've started to feel that density pulsate within your third eye, I'm now going to draw your attention to your eyes in of itself. Whether you're laying down or seated, do not move your head. You are going to move your eyes. You are going to move your eyes and draw with your eyes themselves an infinity sign. So you're going to go from down left to up right, down left to up right, and you are going to literally draw an infinity sign with your eyes closed. And as you know, when you're doing this, you can start to feel, holy moly, what is going on, Sifu? Am I having a psychotic episode? No. You are generating this energy, this palpable energy. Now you're going to go in the opposite direction, and you're going to draw it with your eyes in the opposite direction, going high right, low left, high left, low right, and you're going to keep drawing this infinity sign. And once you draw the infinity sign from left to right, right to left, then you're going to draw it from high to low, low to high. And now you're going to draw it that way. And then once you draw it from high to low, low to high, high to low, you're then going to draw it on a 45-degree angle from right to left, left to right, right to left. You're going to do that twice. Then you're going to do it in the opposite 45-degree angle, right to left, left to right, right to left. And at this point, you're feeling this almost like a dizzy density. And it's completely okay, right? This is cultivating of energy, ladies and gentlemen. Now that you have drawn that, you'll be able to see that in your third eye as this sacred infinite flower, gold in its representation. And at that point, once it's being drawn, you can then go back to the initial infinity sign, left to right, right to left, and you'll continue that for another couple of times. And you go right to left, left to right, left to right, right to left on the other side for a few more times. And then I'm going to get you to inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale through the mouth, in through the mouth, out through the mouth 3 times. And on the third time, you are going to hold for 9 seconds. When you are ready, ladies and gentlemen, ladies, inhale. Another one. Last one. Hold it. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. And now I'm going to just turn that energy, that big ball of like pizza dough in the top of your head that makes you feel like a bobblehead. You are feeling very dense. You're feeling very palpable. And let your respiration guide that energy as it starts to move like an amber in a cigarette, just through your own breathing. And with that, anyone that hears me from the distance or is listening to me presently, stay with that experience. Let it yourself express yourself with that density. Do not be concerned by the physicality of this exercise, because it will give you incredible density and pulpability within your head. And it's just energy, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. Let it express itself, let it expose itself, let it ripple out through your physical, your energetic, and your spiritual fields, and let it be infinite, abundant, timeless, limitless, as it should be in its nature. And with that, I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Qing, and I will see you on the next one, guys.